My Patreon members' current terminal subclade is I-FTB80270, which dates approximately to 492 CE according to family tree DNA age estimates. Now, I believe that this subclade originated in Germany, and I will talk more about that in a little bit. My Patreon members' earliest known patrilineal ancestor emigrated from the Duchy of Nassau in present-day Germany to the United States in 1853. In the following map, the Duchy of Nassau is shaded in dark red, so you can see where it's situated in continental Europe. Being located pretty far inland in modern-day Germany, away from Scandinavia, the first thought that popped in my head in regards to my Patreon members' patrilineal line was some type of West Germanic influence. The reason why I think my Patreon members' terminal subclade I-FTB80270 originated in Germany is because, in addition to my Patreon members' earliest known patrilineal ancestor coming from Germany, the child clade I-FTB81191 also has a tester claiming Germany for their earliest known patrilineal origin. If my Patreon members' terminal subclade originated somewhere else outside of Germany, or if his patrilineal ancestors entered Germany later on, let's say during the Viking Age, I would expect to see a different modern distribution. The other modern tester claiming Germany for the earliest known patrilineal country of origin specifically claims the town of Langenau, which is situated in the far east of the Baden-Württemberg region, in the area where you see the black X. Langenau, being situated so far south in present-day Germany, adds more evidence for this West Germanic correlation for this patrilineal line. There are also two Americans positive for the downstream subclade I-FTB79913, which dates approximately to 1818 CE according to family tree DNA age estimates. So they both share the same surname, and most certainly this subclade originated in the United States. Now, to be honest, I'm not quite sure how they connect historically to the other two testers claiming Germany for their earliest known patrilineal country of origin. If their patrilineal forefathers would have diverged apart from the patrilineal line of the gentleman claiming roots from Langenau, Germany, around the year 881 CE for the I-FTB 81191 subclade, I'm not quite sure how they would have made their way to England during that time frame afterwards. One of the two Americans claims Weymouth, Dorset, England for their earliest known patrilineal ancestor. The city of Weymouth in Dorset, England is a large port town along the English Channel in southern England. So there could be a scenario where this individual emigrated from Germany to that area of England for possible economic reasons such as trade. So as I previously mentioned, I believe there is a West Germanic correlation with my Patreon members' patrilineal line based on the dating of his terminal subclade and his modern day matches. So these West Germanic tribes would have expanded out of the southern Jutland Peninsula, northern Germany, into other areas of continental Europe, including the area where my Patreon members' earliest known patrilineal ancestor is known to have lived. Now, these West Germanic tribes would go by various names over the centuries during the Iron Age, and they would form different alliances and confederations. During the migration period as well, many ancient Germanic tribes would move throughout continental Europe. So trying to pinpoint a specific ancient Germanic tribal affiliation for my Patreon members' patrilineal forefathers is quite difficult based on the aforementioned reasons. Now, unfortunately, there is around 2,000 years of missing subclade data between my Patreon members' terminal subclade dating to approximately 492 CE and its parent subclade IY30738, which dates to the Bronze Age approximately around 1644 BCE. Any theory regarding a patrilineal line that has 2,000 years of missing data is always going to be a bit speculative. I also want to note that he doesn't have any recent ancient DNA connections. He has one ancient DNA connection with this Bronze Age branch. The ancient DNA connection was mentioned in the 2020 study, Population Genomics of the Viking World. In the family tree DNA database, the sample is labeled Oland 1101. The sample is also referred to as VK443 in the study. He lived sometime during the Viking Age between 800 and 1100 CE. He was discovered in Boda on the island of Åland in Sweden. In the following map, you can see where the island of Åland is situated in the Baltic Sea off the coast of southeastern Sweden. Now you might be asking yourself, hey, Mr. I1, how can you correlate your Patreon members' patrilineal forefathers with a pre-Viking Age West Germanic migration when his closest ancient DNA sample dates to the Viking Age and is from Sweden? And the answer to this question lies in the recently released preprint, Steppe Ancestry in Western Eurasia and the Spread of the Germanic Languages. In that preprint, there were two assertions made by the authors that I found to be quite fascinating. The first one is that haplogroup I1 has a correlation with a East Scandinavian cluster from Sweden. The other assertion is that during the Bronze Age, haplogroup I1 patrilineal lines spread from Sweden to Norway and Denmark. To quote the preprint, quote, large-scale Bronze Age migration within Scandinavia, originating in the east and becoming widespread to the west and south, end quote. This helps explain how my Patreon member can have a parent subclade dating to the Bronze Age that has these Sweden and later on Viking Age connections. Some of his distant patrilineal ancestors would have remained in Sweden as others migrated westward and southward. To further quote the preprint, quote, in Jutland during the Iron Age, individuals tend to fall within the southern Scandinavian cluster, figure 6, and are modeled with approximately 55% southern and approximately 45% eastern Scandinavian Bronze Age, end quote. So here we have evidence that those West Germanic tribes spreading out of the Jutland Peninsula would have been carrying approximately 45% of this Eastern Scandinavian Bronze Age ancestry that can be correlated with these older Swedish patrilineal connections. To further quote the preprint, quote, the spread of West Germanic to Germany, the Netherlands, and Britain appears to be closely related to populations migrating from the Jutland Peninsula, end quote. This helps explain how someone can have patrilineal ancestry from Germany associated with West Germanic travel migrations during the Iron Age and migration period, but still have Bronze Age patrilineal connections to Sweden. What additional information can be learned from my Patreon members' STR results? Well, he has 0 Y111 matches and 0 Y67 matches, so I don't see any promising leads. Furthermore, in the first 37 STRs, his patrilineal line appears to have a lot of convergence with other distant branches. For example, 2 out of his 4 Y37 matches, and I put matches in parentheses, are positive for the IZ63 subclade. So he doesn't connect to them with a common patrilineal ancestor except all the way back to the IDF29 branch, which is over 4 millennia years old. I saw more examples of this convergence at Y25 as well. So unfortunately, I don't have any recommendations for him to pursue in regards to getting these so-called matches upgraded to Big Y700. Thanks for watching.